Hi, it's Alaska Granny. In an emergency situation, what are the things that I fear the most? Number one is being cold. Number two is being hungry. Number three is being dirty and not having a way to become clean again. If you think about emergency situations, there are usually options, supplies, and things we can do to help us on our way, smooth over what's coming. So this video I wanted to discuss in particular, what would you do in an EMP? I don't necessarily think that an EMP is a likely event, but it could happen. Just like I never thought I'd experience a volcano, yet I have several times. So you just never know what the future can hold. So if you were looking at an EMP specific kind of an emergency, then you need to look at what would still work if the power went out, the electronics didn't work, and so many things were just no longer available to you. The first thing you want to figure out is how to have a little bit of heat and light. So you want to make sure you have things like candles, lanterns, matches, lighters. I like these big types of candles. You can find these at the dollar store or even at Walmart or other discount stores, and these will burn for up to 80 hours. That is a lot of light out of one candle. And then remember, you're not going to be burning a candle 24 hours a day. You're probably only going to burn it 8 hours at the most per day. So it's going to last for days and days and days. The light of one candle is not going to be as bright to fill a room like a light bulb, and that's where you'll want something like a lantern. Get some oil lanterns, make sure that you have the fuel and the wicks to light them and continue to use them. I made a video on how to make your own oil lamps out of jars and a simple mop. I'll put a link to that video in case those are some emergency lights that you would be interested in. When it comes to lighting your candles and lanterns, you can use regular lighters. You can use the long handle utility lighters. You can get boxes of matches. These are strike on the box, and make sure that if it's strike on the box, you have the striker section on the box. Some people like to say, oh, you can throw them away, put them in a jar, and strike them on sandpaper, and you absolutely cannot do that. There's a chemical on the tip of the match and a chemical on the side of the box, and when you strike on the side, it combines the chemicals, and that's what allows it to light. That's why they're called safety matches. If you want matches that are going to light all the time, get some strike anywhere matches. They've been a lot harder to find the last few years, but they're certainly worth the search for them, and stockpile those as well. A favorite item I picked up at the Dollar Tree are the long fireplace matches. If you're going to use a long candle like this, these are going to allow you to reach into the jar to light them. The next thing you need for an EMP emergency would be tools. You probably already have tools like pocket knives, survival knives, multi-tools, but you need to remember in an EMP there won't be any kind of way to use your power tools. You're going to need to do some heavy lifting, heavy duty work with the hand tools that you have. So make sure you stock up on things like maybe a crowbar, a handsaw, a splitting maul, shovels. There are a lot of activities that we wouldn't normally need to do. Maybe you'll need to dig a latrine to bury your trash. A lot of tools from saws to shovels to crowbars to screwdrivers that you probably could use in a lot of situations and may be extremely handy in a grid down EMP type situation. So if you don't have any tools, think about the tasks you might need to do, look around and start to collect the tools that you think would be the most handy for you to have in a lot of different kind of situations. You've probably been storing canned and packaged food, and that's great. You're going to need that for any situation. Make sure you're stockpiling all kinds of can openers. Look, in fact, for the P38. These are the military style or scout camp openers that allow you to open a can with just this little gadget. I made a video about how to use a P38 or a P52 I'll leave a link to that so you can learn how to use these handy little gadgets, and they're easy to buy, a whole package of them on Amazon. You can spread them around in your emergency gear, and then you'll always be able to open a can of food. Make sure you're stockpiling all the water that you possibly have room for. In an emergency situation, you need at least a minimum of 1 gallon of water per person in your family. Stockpile for at least 3 days, then try to get it for 7 days, 14 days, and as long as you possibly can. You can fill up empty bottles and containers, put them in jars. You can purchase water already in a container, or you can even buy a container and fill it up yourself. Pay attention to where the nearest source of water that you could collect water that's near to your home. Make sure you know how you're going to collect the water and how you're going to be able to transport it back to your house. Having an extra supply of the free buckets you can get at the grocery store would be a great way to transport the water. They even come with a snap-on lid, better than a regular bucket, so that you're able to carry it without it spilling all over the place. Just remember, water weighs over 8 pounds per gallon, and so a 5-gallon bucket is going to weigh over 40 pounds. So don't fill it so full that you're not able to transport it back to where you need it. Then you need to have some kind of a quality water filter. There are kinds that are like straws. There are some that you pour the water through, like a Berkey filter. Make sure that you get a water filter that's not just for flavor, that just takes out the impurities. Something like a Brita filter is not going to remove contaminants. You need something that removes the contaminants out of the water, because the water is going to come with bacteria, cysts, and viruses, and you want to filter all of that out so you don't become sick from dirty water. You can use bleach to purify water. I've made a video about that. I'll leave a link to that video. Bleach has a shelf life. The part that is the purification part tends to evaporate, and so your bleach, if you open it and it doesn't smell like bleach anymore, it's because that component of it has evaporated and there's only water left in your bleach bottle. So plan on storing bleach, but plan on rotating it. You can also buy tablets and packets that you can add to water, and you stir it around and let it sit for different amounts of time, and that will purify the water as well. Whatever kind of tablets or packets you choose, make sure you read the directions carefully. The directions vary from manufacturer to manufacturer. The next thing you should think about stockpiling are books. There are all kinds of books that would be important to have in a prepping library. I have lots of books in my library that talk about the animals, the plants, recipes for game, the environment that I live in, and these are books that help me to deal with and understand the area where I live. Learn about first aid, learn about survival, learn about camping, learn about the area where you live, the animals where you are, and how to deal with all kinds of emergencies. Think about the people who lived there in ancient times. How did they survive when they had nothing? And those are the skills and the mindset that we want to learn from and emulate in a time of need, that we would need to know how to do those things. People lived all over this world long before there was electricity, and no one worried about an EMP. We are not that many generations removed from that was just the way people lived. It does seem impossible to believe that we could live without cell phones, hair dryers, microwaves, but people did it not even that very long ago. While we never want to give up those types of things, that could be a consequence of some kind of emergency that could come your way. It could be a simple power outage that lasts for a few days. It could be something like a hurricane or a tornado or a flood that takes out the power or the fresh water for a month. And it could be an EMP that changes the way we live for a longer period of time. We never know what can come our way, but we do know there's a common thread of we need to find a way to feed ourselves, stay warm, provide light, stay clean, and take care of ourselves so that we can make the best of any situation. Tell me what you're doing to prepare for an EMP or any other disaster. There are a lot of tips we can learn from each other. Learn more at alaskagranny.com. Please subscribe to the Alaska Granny channel.